We've seen that there are things even more important than money and taxes when you plan your estate. Aging is a family affair. Once your health starts to fail, your family, whoever that is, will become more and more involved in your life. Psychiatrists tell us that the family is an emotional unit with a network of interlocking relationships that cross generations. Once the emotional circuitry of a relationship is in place, it usually outlives the people who participate in it. If one member dies, another person usually replaces her. The actors come and go, but the play lives on through the generations. Children may act out conflicts that were never resolved. Tracy's relationship with Francis was troubled. During Tracy's childhood, Francis was prone to becoming irrationally angry and verbally and physically abusive. After an incident in 1987 in which Francis attacked her, Tracy had no contact with Francis for 6 to 8 months. After they resumed contact, Tracy described the relationship as guarded, and Tony described it as very complicated and often toxic. Tracy had 2 daughters, but Francis felt that she had very limited access to them, her only grandchildren. Francis was disappointed that Tracy's visits were infrequent and brief. When Francis's husband, Tracy's father Daniel, died in 2001, Francis was upset that Tracy did not sit with her or hug her at the funeral.
Going back to 2002, where she left almost the entirety of her estate to Chris and Tony to Tracy's exclusion, there is evidence in the record from the original drafting attorney talking about the reasons why, back in 2002, Tracy was excluded from the estate plan.
After 2002, Frances Fern changed her will and power of attorney documents 2 more times. Broken family relationships can send people on a roller coaster of emotions that have a profound effect on estate planning.
Forward to 2012, when she reversed that and left most of it to Tracy, to the near exclusion of Chris and Tony.
In March 2012, Frances fell and was hospitalized. She became combative, agitated, angry. She accused Chris of kidnapping her and accused Tony of stealing her wallet and papers. She wanted Tracy to take care of her and began communicating more frequently with Tracy. Tracy told Frances not to trust Tony and Chris and that they were trying to take control of Frances's finances. Frances also gave a durable power of attorney, which included gifting authority to Tracy, with Tracy's husband to serve as the alternate. Frances moved from a rehab facility back to her home. Frances then visited her various banks, telling anyone who would listen that Tony and Chris had tried to have her declared incompetent and were trying to take over her affairs.
Then to 2013, where she created the will that went to all 3 children equally. She did so based on circumstances at that time, which were that Tracy had reappeared after a significant absence in Mrs. Fern's life. That was something that brought her joy, and she was hopeful for the future, that the family would be reunited, that she would continue to share time with her only daughter and her only grandchildren. That did not come to pass. Frances had some optimism in the 2012 and 2013 timeframe when Tracy came back, that things were going to be as she would have always hoped. But unfortunately, that's not what came to bear.
In mid-2013, however, after an emotional discussion of finances, Frances's relationship with Tracy took another turn for the worse. Tracy and her daughters did not visit as much as Frances wanted. Toward the end of 2013, Frances's health declined rapidly, resulting in multiple hospitalizations and then her move to an Alzheimer's unit at a healthcare center, where she remained until her death in 2018. Tracy visited once in January 2014, but she found Frances's behavior during that visit upsetting, and she never visited again, feeling that she was a trigger for Frances. Frances sometimes expressed disappointment and disbelief that Tracy and her daughters did not visit.
There's testimony from Frances's dear friend, Anna Weatherly, about the relationships and how those relationships changed over time and how she saw Frances impacted by Tracy's lack of a relationship with her. These were sources of pain for Frances. By the time the gifts at issue were made, when Chris and Tony were considering who were the donees that their mother would choose at that time, Tracy hadn't seen her mother for more than 3 years. Mrs. Fern was at the Regency. She was accessible. She was not being restricted. Her visitors were not restricted. She was not being secluded. Tracy could have maintained the relationship that she promised her mother she would. She didn't. And so it really defies credulity to believe that by the time these gifts were considered and made in 2016, that Tracy would have remained among the class of donees that Mrs. Fern would have chosen if she had capacity to make the decision herself at that time.
During her final years, Frances was still able to recognize visitors, including Tony, Chris, and Tony's friend Lisa, and was happy to see them. Tony visited 5 times per week and celebrated birthdays and holidays with Frances. The courts decided that Tony and Chris had met their burden of proving that they acted in good faith and in Frances's interests, and that in their reasonable opinions, she would have chosen to make the gifts to Tony, Chris, and Tony's friend Lisa, and would not have chosen to make gifts to Tracy. Judges can decide legal issues, but they can't heal broken relationships. There are things more important than money and taxes when planning your estate.